Hey YouTube, Paul Oz here again. I've got myself some picks to talk about today. They're all quite unique and special and everything, special snowflakes as they are. They are all handmade picks. Today we are featuring a couple Hufschmids and BHL guitar pick technologies, their picks. So, first we're going to start off with these two acrylic badasses right here. These tiny little guys sound a lot like this. I've got a clean channel running with the positive grid bias desktop. Let's hear how it sounds on the neck pickup. So the thing about acrylic is, well, it's hilariously chirpy no matter what you do. And that's why I don't really like acrylic all that much. Though these are quite cool looking picks, as you can see, and I do quite like the carve. It seems that BHL has somehow devised a way to make guitar picks super comfortable for your thumb. And really, it helps playability and tremolo picking and everything. The reason I'm doing this review with so much clean is just to show you guys how the guitar sounds as naturally as possible. I mean, I'm not really using too much of the positive grid bias's EQ to change the sound of the guitar. It's a very natural kind of clean sound straight from the comparison. Anyhow, I don't really like how chirpy acrylic is, but this is quite comfortable. This carve for my thumb is quite comfortable. It's probably a 3 or 4 millimeter pick on the edges, but the little indent for your thumb is definitely not, obviously isn't that thick, and it just provides for a very comfortable experience just to play. Anyhow, let's move on to the next one. I believe this BHL is called the Antagonist. Now, for some reason, it was decided that the little bevel for your thumb was moved up a bit, and I don't know if I agree with that very much, but it does make playing with your first finger, which is what most guitar players do, makes that a little bit more comfortable for the first finger here. And the thumb is a little bit misplaced if you put it there. It's got too much of a bump in the middle for me. I really do prefer the cut of the last acrylic BHL. But anyhow, let's listen to some stuff here. Again, acrylic is chirpy. It is a black acrylic, which looks really badass and everything, but color doesn't change functionality, unfortunately. I think that it's just a little bit too chirpy for what I like to use guitar picks for. I would like a very pristine, tight attack, no chirp, no added extra mess. Even so, these are very, very high gloss and really cool picks, and I've never had the experience of dropping them in the middle of playing a riff or anything like that. So, again, my usual rule of thumb with chirpier picks is to use them for leads, because you've got just that extra bit of juice. You know, you get to hit every note just a little bit harder, there's a bit more dynamic, but controlling that chirp is usually the problem. Now, let's move on to one of the Hufschmids here. So this guy right here, this big chocolatey looking guy, is a attack drop, I believe. It's PhD, which is apparently it's a kind of high pressure laminate material. This is ripped from his website, Mr. Patrick Hufschmid's website, consisting of layers of cellulose fibers impregnated with thermosetting resins. Basically, it's just really, really awesome, strong material. And it looks like wood. You know, I see the layers. I see what is meant. I had one of these when I first was introduced to Hufschmid stuff. I obviously bought it because I didn't really know anyone who had any. And I got exactly this pick and another one which is somewhere buried. I think it was also an acrylic pick, which didn't get too much love because of the whole... I'm not that big of a fan of acrylic, but what ended up happening was I played it too much. It was very, very comfortable. I've never had a slippage, which is really important, and I just ate the tip of it too much, so I'm afraid to play it because I know that I'm going to eat it away. That being said, it did take more than a few months to eat at this Hufschmid. So I've now switched to a distortion sound, which is voiced specifically for this guitar, and I'm going to try the Hufschmid out with this one. There is a little bit of chirp, of course, but you might not hear it as much as the other picks. Again, it comes down to material and the way that it feels in terms of its finish. So let's hear some stuff. So as you can hear, there is a few moments of chirp, which is totally acceptable because it really doesn't have too much of that. I'm quite impressed. I've always been very impressed with Patrick's stuff. He's a maestro at what he does in terms of guitar building, and his picks are definitely things to behold. There's a lot of love that goes into each and every one, and I haven't mentioned this yet, or I haven't mentioned this enough, but every pick that I'm currently reviewing, at least in this review, they're all handmade, man. There's hours that go into these things. Anyway, I think that for having less chirp, this is so far the winner. It's definitely bigger than the two BHLs, and I don't really like to have jazz threes, man. Everyone's about jazz threes. I'm like, no, I'm done with jazz threes. I got big fingers. I don't want to hold something that's that small. Moving on from this awesome attack drop, we have ourselves here a BHL pick, again, with the same kind of bevel for your thumb, and the same size, smaller, but this is made out of horn. Now, I don't know whose horn, but someone's horn, Das Horn. Anyway, let's hear some stuff with it. I'll try to play some lead stuff to see if it's chirpy or not. So it does have some chirp, but again, the finish on this one is actually fairly satiny, and I'm sure that's because Horn is just that kind of way. I don't know, maybe he did treat it, maybe he didn't, but BHL, Mr. Brock Little from BHL definitely has a winner with the Horn one. I really like how comfortable it is. And it's a little morbid to know that it's made out of horn, but that does mean that every single pick is unique in that sense. And the carve is still, again, quite comfortable. He devised a way to make it really comfy for the thumb. I'm just afraid that my thumb is a bit too big for the bevel, at least on this one. So I think not too much chirp. Again, kind of like the Hufschmid attack drop, the PhD that we just talked about, but still different size, different feeling. And I'm not that huge of Jazz 3 fan, and this is definitely along those kinds of lines. Now, next we have the Bone. This is another BHL Technologies one. This is my thinnest one. It's got to be maximum 2.5, 3 millimeters, whereas everything else is much more. Everything else is thicker. And this one seems to have an even deeper cut for your thumb, and that's nice because it is, again, another Jazz 3 shape. It's made out of bone, so of course they're going to be unique. And the tip of it is a little chirpy, but I find that Bone just feels so much better in my hands. I think this is my favorite one just because of the feeling. It feels very there. It feels like a proper guitar pick, like there's some material between your fingers, not like a tiny piece of plastic. So let's hear some stuff. Again, I really, I love this one the most. There's not too much chirp. Maybe it's because of the material. I have no idea, but that is like the basic. Obviously, at this point in the review, you can tell chirp is the biggest issue, at least for me as a guitar player. And I mean, it has a little tiny bit more than what I'm used to in terms of the super thin picks, the 1.14 millimeter, which it's sad that that's thin for me now, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I'm a fan. I think that the Bone pick is one of the better ones that he has made, Mr. Brock Little has made, and it arrived ages ago, and I've been loving it and playing it all the time. So YouTube, let's talk about these last two picks here. These are both made out of UHWMPE, ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, and they are both quite fantastic. I'm a big fan of both of these picks, mostly because, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but these are actually both quite fuzzy. And fuzzy's good. Fuzzy means comfortable. Fuzzy means that it's going to stay in your hands, basically. And I really like that. Now, that being said, the Hufschmid is, again, quite different from the BHL. This is a BHL Megalodon. This is a Hufschmid, I believe it's an attack drop or just a regular drop. Now, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments and on all that stuff. But here's how the Hufschmid sounds. It sounds quite killer. There is a little bit of chirp with this one, and it has a bit of a bulge in the middle, which is not very happening for me. But I still really like it. It's still quite comfortable to hold. It's just that the middle bit feels like there's too much material for me. Maybe it's just because of the shape of the pick being the way that it is. But it is blue, and it looks killer. And I think that this is one of the more attractive picks that I've talked about and reviewed. So Hufschmid's quality remains the same. It's fantastic the whole way through. Depending on what you're really looking for, it's, you know what I mean? You're getting quality. You're getting someone who loves what he does, because you better love it for how much time it takes to make one of these picks. And these things aren't exactly cheap, but again, it comes down to how many man hours it takes to make a couple of these picks. It's insanity. So now let's talk about this guy right here, the Megalodon. BHL Technologies' Megalodon. I actually named this pick. I did it. I picked the name Megalodon first. Apparently a bunch of other people thought of it as well, but whatever. And this one has very little chirp. Again, the same material as the Hufschmid, the ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, but it's smaller, and it's got the thumb cut, the thumb carve, just like the other BHL Technologies stuff. So that makes it super comfortable. It is an enormous pick. It's definitely like, I don't know, 5, 6, even 7 millimeters thick, save for the carve in the middle for your thumb. But it's incredibly, incredibly lovely. I like this pick a lot. So let's hear some stuff. But even so, even with that little bit of chirp, it's great for rhythms. And for leads, of course, you can dig in a little bit more with that. And it feels good. It's just a comfortable pick. So, verdict finally, these picks that I have talked about today are some of my favorites. The acrylics, for certain things, like using it on a glassier kind of tone, like with my Parker, and the UHWMPE stuff, or UHMPWP, whatever the hell it's called. That stuff is more for rhythmical stuff, and the Bone is just one of my favorite playing ones. And the Horn is somewhere in between those two categories. I think ultimately, if you want to get a great quality pick, you should go get them. That's all. You should try them out, like I have. I really like using different picks for different purposes, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. And there will be another one coming out again soon, as I have so many picks to talk about. But these are a few favorites for sure. I'm digging the Hufschmid stuff a lot these days, and I'm digging the BHL stuff. So anyway, next time we're going to be speaking a little bit more about a few more Hufschmids, actually, and Dragonheart picks, as well as a brand new purple pick that I received recently. And we're going to talk about Ultex and about Dunlop as well. Don't forget, there are cheaper guitar pick brands out there. Anyhow, thanks again, YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this video. Anyhow, cheers, YouTube.